In this example, we're being asked to differentiate, which just means, right, find the derivative of this f of x equation. And then they tell us with respect to x, which is just telling us which variable we care about. And so we're just talking x's, so they're usually just going to use that language. So when we look at this, we're looking at f of x equals 5x to the fourth plus 3x squared. All of that is to the 3/4 power. So that's an exponent going on there. When we look at this problem, you can definitely say to yourself, I have something way more than just a bunch of stuff being added and subtracted happening here. So I have stuff inside of a parenthesis raised to an exponent. So as soon as I see something more than just addition and subtraction happening, I know I'm looking at one of my alternate derivative rules. So product rule, quotient rule, chain rule. And when I'm doing these, what I always tell people to do is sort of squint at the problem and say, what shape does that look like? And you can see my shapes on my website. But when I look down at this problem, how I view this is I say I got something inside a set of parentheses raised to some power up here. This is the classic of all classic chain rule setups. Whenever you have something inside a set of parentheses raised to a power, you're going to be following the chain rule. And my little saying for the chain rule goes d in times d out. The derivative of whatever is inside those parentheses, that's what I mean by the in piece, the derivative of the inside, times the derivative of sort of whatever is going on the outside here. So when I look back at this problem, I just kind of break this into some bite-sized chunks to follow my chain rule recipe. So I need to find the derivative of the in. So I go and I grab my in piece. And I look at just that piece and I say, okay, if I had to take the derivative of 5x to the fourth plus 3x squared, how would I find that derivative? What would that derivative look like? And so what that's going to be is that is just a bunch of stuff added and subtracted. So that's going to be back to our straightforward basic power rule. Really, again, as you do these problems, remind yourself that everything is kind of funneling back to the power rule. So the power rule just says bring the power down. And then step 2, subtract 1 from the power. So as we do that here, we're going to bring our 4 down. We get 4 times 5 gets us 20x. Subtract 1 from the power gets us x to the third. Moving on to the next piece, bring the 2 down. I get 2 times 3 is going to get us positive 6x. Subtracting 1 from the power would get us x to the first. So that is our d in right there. And then as we go to look at the outside here, the outside is really just a giant power rule, if you want to think about it that. It's really like having right now, it's kind of like having x to the 3/4. If I asked you how to find the derivative of x to the 3/4, you just bring that 3/4 down and you would subtract 1 from the power and that would get you negative 1/4. Well, the same type of idea is happening here. It's just happening around all that other stuff. So the outside, what we're looking at is a bunch of stuff raised to the 3/4 power. So that's all of our inside stuff just stays right there. And we just kind of ignore that. And then we apply our power rule. And so the power rule says bring the power down. So you bring that 3/4 down in front. You leave alone all the junk you already took the derivative of, so 5x to the fourth plus 3x squared, and then we're subtracting 1 from the power here, so minus 1. So 3/4 minus 1 is going to get us negative 1/4. So it's really just, again, it's just a giant power rule happening on the outside there. So now I have all of the pieces that I need to follow my chain rule recipe. So I grab my ingredients, my d in and my d out, and I follow my chain rule recipe to get to my final answer. So f prime of x is going to equal derivative of the inside, which is 20x cubed plus 6x, and then we're going to multiply that by the derivative of the outside, which was just this giant power rule where we brought that 3/4 down in front. So 3/4, leave alone all the junk you already took the derivative of, and then subtract 1 from the power. I will tell you that probably 99% of your teachers out there are going to flip-flop the order that they do this in, but I am telling you that if you go inside out, your life will always be easier when you're trying to decipher a chain rule problem. And leave it at that. You're done at that point, right? You've followed the chain rule, you have your derivative, so unless you've got to do more work for some other reason, leave it alone and walk away. Thanks for watching my video. If you liked it, please click that like button and subscribe. And also share it with your friends and anyone else you know who might be crying about an upcoming AP Calc test. You can find more videos from me, more sample AP Calc questions, and my complete AP Calc study guide over at my website, apcalcprep.com. Have a great one.